And the position of the meditator, the one who's sitting, is just to be willing. That's it. That's the only activity, that's the only thing you're doing, that's the only thing you're offering, that's the only thing you're there for, is just to be willing. So we talked about going for a walk. And we were walking actually at Pinnacles that day, the other day. And I said, when we stop to take a rest, or stop to look at the scenery, or stop to take a drink, it's still the walk. So in other words, if something changes in your meditation, you move into a blissful state, you move into being uncomfortable because your stomach's rumbling, you move into feeling something that happened at work that was unpleasant today, that's still the meditation. Whatever's coming up is part of the purification. When you approach it as that something is happening that is anti your meditation, and that you're trying to get back to a blissful state, that is the ego seeking meditation. The ego is now saying, this is meditation, this is not meditation. I assure you, all of it's meditation, whereas if you stop the walk and you look at a bird, it's still the walk. It's not the walk now, it's still the walk. So the position of someone who's walking or meditating is the willingness to stay in the walk. And that's it. There's no other thing. Whatever arises is the passing scenery. And it's there because it's part of a journey, not because it has any value that you want it or you don't want it, or that it's supposed to have some kind of outcome. It's not supposed to have any other outcome. It's all just purification. What is going on in meditation is you're sitting here being willing to not just experience, but realize the divine. So the divine is here. You're acknowledging that by being willing to be here. And whatever arises has nothing to do with that. And so you're not pursuing and seeking. And so I think everybody has formed an idea of what meditation should be giving them, and if they're getting it or not. Either the meditation is bad, the guru is not doing it to your benefit, or there's something wrong with you. I assure you it's none of those things. There's, like in the walk, there's all qualities of the scenery, what's going on, a deer can appear, someone can come by and trip you by accident, anything can occur in the walk, and you just like, well, that's the walk. Meditation is the same experience. You're sitting here acknowledging and being willing to know that you are the divine. The divine is in the room, but there's something in the way. And that what's in the way is only the unwillingness and trying to escape to find a certain experience. So that's what meditation is not, trying to find a certain experience. So has anybody approached meditation like that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody's approaching it as a seeker. Okay. Now what is a seeker? Someone who's looking at experience and deciding that if they get their experience, they'll be happier. What is the divine? The divine is actually what everyone is when they're not being a seeker. So the seeker isn't actually in the way of realizing the divine, but knowing that your very self is the divine. Why does someone appear, in this capacity to teach you about the divine and says there's only the divine? They're not advocating you knowing the divine, you figuring out how to be close to the divine, you attaining the divine. They're not advocating any of that. They're advocating that you're searched, that your point of view is in the way. So what is your point of view? That you're
Seeker, yeah.
That you're separate from God.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the point of view of the divine?
You're the divine. All points of view, I guess.
All points of view, there only is the divine.
Yeah.
So how does this happen that you think you're separate from the divine trying to get to the divine? How did this happen?
Identifying with the body-mind.
You get born, and you're kind of trained into that this is a separate thing, and you're this.
You're this, and you're going to get happy by
Experience. Losing yourself.
losing yourself in experience.
Yeah.
So meditation, so when you come to meditate, all you have to do is be willing. And so part of being willing is to not seek. So when you catch yourself seeking, so it's not so much that your mind wanders. That's not the problem.
So you make a problem out of it.
That you're making a
Right.
problem out of it.
And that's
The
not
same way, seeing a feces while you're walking is not a problem. It's only if your mind decides to make a problem out of it. Because it's the walk. Anything can happen in the walk, anything can happen in meditation. It's still a walk, it's still meditation. So if your mind is saying meditation has to be a certain way, if it's not that way, then it wasn't meditation. I can assure you, if I'm sitting in the room, it's meditation. If I'm walking with you, it's the walk. It's not anything else. It's only you qualifying it according to what your idea is about it. So after all these years, people are still saying, and coming into the room, bringing their seeking ideas of what they should get in meditation, to be fulfilled, to become aware of the divine. If the divine is self-aware, that's all there is self-awareness. So what are you aware of? Just yourself.
Yeah.
So the willingness to be in the room with the divine and stay willing and not search for an experience or not search for some kind of thing that happens that assures you that it's happening, but just to sit in the room. And a life with your master is that life to be willingly, be that life, to have that life. But the life of a devotee is just the willingness to stay and be willing, nothing else. So whenever you're seeking some kind of experience and qualifying it, say Jerry gets a lot of attention and Neil gets mad, what's that?
Seeking.
That's seeking. And you lose your willingness to be what?
To be present in the room.
To be present in the room with me. And that's all there is, just that willingness. You know, if you have a little baby and they're getting a little fussy and you're sitting in the room and they're getting fussy and you see they're waking up and they kind of roll over and they see you're there and they go, okay, she's there, so I don't have to do anything, I'm okay. So the divine is the divine. Who does the sadhana? The divine. What does the ego do? It stays in the room and stays in the room, and what begins to occur? Everything, all points of view that the ego is and identifies with, all experience begins to disappear because those things are not in the room. That's it. So it's a very simple process. But when you're seeking your experience of what you want, you're not willing anymore. Does anybody notice that? So when you're sitting there saying, well, I had a blissful experience 5 minutes ago, I'm not having one now, and that's not good, what are you doing? Seeking, and what is it?
Not willing.
You're not willing to be in the room anymore. You're willing to investigate what?
The experience that you
Yes.
get something out of.
Your desire. Yeah.
Okay. So everybody can relate to that's how they approach meditation.
Yes.
Okay. So what is it to just be openly, simply willing? What is that like? So that means that you just stay open, you're willing, and there doesn't, no matter what qualities arise, no matter what kind of thoughts come up, you're just willing. So then you don't look at those thoughts and start to judge them as meditation or not meditation.
Does that really have a quality to it?
Willing? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Awesome. It's like everybody knows when someone's willing, don't they?
Yeah.
It's not phony and fake.
Yeah.
What does that feel like when,
Okay.
yeah, it's like come in the room and you feel like, she's willing to give me a regard, or she's willing to be give me attention and love. I don't have to ask her for it. I don't have to like trick her into it. I don't have to create a big special splash of me so it will be there and available. That's willingness. When you take out a walk, when we were walking, just because we were open and we were willing to the walk, let's say we saw a bobcat came and sat down and gave us darshan, we saw a golden eagle, we saw some condors flying, We saw some roadrunners, we saw some turkeys, some deer. All this life just appeared. And when you try to go out and say, I'm only going to have a good experience if I see a bobcat. If I don't see one, then there's something wrong with this place, and I better investigate. I'll get on my computer. What's wrong with pinnacles? Where's the bobcat? That's what you're all doing. But if you're willing, everything comes and appears, and it's all willing too. So meditation, I assure you, it's not a strategy. There's no technique. There's no wrong experience in meditation. There's no right experience in meditation. It's just being willing. So if you're chasing after some idea and some kind of experience and you want it to repeat, then you're being a seeker and you're losing your ability or your interest in being just simply willing. So that's all it is. The whole spiritual path is willing. Well, isn't the ego battling the whole world?
Yeah.
All the time, being the victim of everything that goes wrong, and all you look at when people get old, they talk about their experience and talk about how everybody or certain things really disappointed them.
Yeah.
I don't have one sense of any of that. I just being willing in each moment in a life to be in the life I'm having, and you're just open to it. Nobody's forcing you to do anything against your will. You don't have to strategize, manipulate people into your perception. You don't have to do anything you don't want. It's amazing. You never have to do anything you don't want. Ever. But you all want something. And that puts you in a position where you have to do a whole bunch of stuff you don't want. And then resent it, right? So it's just willing. That's it. Meditation equals willingness to stay in the room. That's it. So everybody has... so don't you have like a way you look at your job? A strategy? A way of doing it that you're going to win and be the winner?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's the whole
Just
basis.
be willing to be there. That's it.
Yeah.
So experience is difficult. It's not here to fulfill you. And it ends with your death. Who thought this setup? Not the divine. The divine is the happy, always willing one. Source of all delight, of all happiness. Not the source of conflict and struggle. That isn't the divine. That's the ego. And life in general is difficult. The only way you can get through it is to be. Like I said, I wouldn't go out there without already being happy, I'll tell you that much. That's the only way you can go. Otherwise, everything there is making your life difficult. Everything is difficult. It's not there to make you happy. It's not there to make you unhappy either. He just doesn't really care about your happiness. So why are you counting on it so much? But the divine is all possibility of all love, all happiness, all fun, all openness, all delight. So like I said, don't go out there without it. Wake up first, realize true source, true being that you are, and give up your unwillingness. And see the source of all conflict is your own activity of the self-contraction, the seeking of your own self. You're not going to have union with the divine. You are going to go away. There is only a divine. You don't really exist. What a source of freedom, huh?
Yeah.
What were you before you had a body-mind? How did you think of yourself when you were like 3 months old? Man, I'm just really something in this little crib. Look, they run over every time I cry. I can manipulate this.
It's E-Trade, baby.
That's how
E-Trade, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, and what will you be after the body-mind? Because it's not just the body breaks down, the mind breaks down too. And it dies. So what are you after that? So if you're just the consciousness that identifies with body-mind experience of those years, like Like I said, I wouldn't recommend it. Anybody can wake up, because there isn't anybody to wake up. There's only the divine. Then there's this leela of egos thinking they're real. You all think you're a personality and it's real. You all think you're the true personality and the divine is somewhere up there in heaven, maybe in your heart. There's room in there, I don't know. Whatever idea you have about it. But I assure you the divine is the only reality, the only one, the only true being. And personality is just a device to function. It's not an actual identity. It's not an actual being. So we learned all these things and we remembered them, so we know how to make this body-mind get around and have some fun and survive and be in this experience, in this adventure. That's all it's used for. It's not actually a person. So the divine wants to experience you as you without the you. But there is no you, so it's happening anyways. It's all going on anyways. But you're never getting to what? That's right. Bam! It's like, like there's a group of actors and they're putting on this play and there's another group and they're kind of a little like dumb and out of it. So one group of actors go and they do their part. One plays the king, another plays the, betrayed uncle, and and then after they all go to the pub after and say, oh, you were so good in your part tonight. Yeah, you were good too. And they're all having a good time. They'll say, see you tomorrow at the job. We're going to be playing, butchers tomorrow. And yeah, you learned your part? Okay. Then there's the dumb group of actors, and they go in, and they're playing their part, and then they get all lost in it, and they think they really are the king who's being betrayed by the uncle. And then time runs out, and they don't go to the pub and put up that acting hat. They all start going home dreaming and planning how to get back at the uncle and the young girl coming up, and it's so real, and they're all caught up in it, and then one day the two actors meet, and the guy says, you're actors too? And they said, yeah, we're actors. Well, no, I'm King so-and-so, and this is the uncle so. I said, no, that's just the part, you're playing. Did you enjoy it? Was it fun? How'd you do your part? What? It's real. So that's what has happened. And why it happens? I guess it gives me a job, I guess. Well, I remember there was one story, something about Mayor Baba, where one man came and said, why is all this happening? He said, to make me suffer. Mayor Baba said, to make me suffer. Because I get to notice all the suffering. Well, it's nothing like really being happy. That you can really notice the quality of suffering in the world and in others, right? Because when you're bummed out, you don't see the next guy bummed out, do you? Or that he's worse off than you. No. It's nothing like being really happy to notice that everyone's suffering. And so the position of that is to reveal what's true. And struggle with those who are struggling until they are ready to be willing. So many years have gone by and been struggling and been empathetic to your suffering, your difficulties, and you're clinging to trying to get fulfilled in experience and your disappointments and your failures, and I've been here through all of it, just being willing, just being open, and just being happy anyways. I always know I'm the actor doing the part. You all believe you have become the role, and you can't hold your hat. Take your hat off and hang it up and say, that's done, let's go celebrate. So you're always believing something. And so that's the dilemma, and that's why there's a thing called spiritual practice or sadhana, and like say you practice till you can surrender. And so perfect surrender is perfect willingness. Instead of telling the divine how it's going to be, instead of telling the divine what you want, you just let it occur. Because it's not going to be what your mind says, I'm telling you. What is it to be happy about nothing? Were you ever really happy about nothing?
With you.
Okay. Because you always want to be happy about something. What is it to be happy about nothing? What is it to know that you are nothing? And that there only is nothing? Yeah, it's happy. Yeah. To know that none of this matters, has no absolute importance, but it's arising and existing anyways. You want freedom, you want happiness, but real happiness and freedom is really big and really wild and is not dependent on any conditions. And you want it all to be dependent on conditions, see, that's the problem. And to be perfectly willing is perfect surrender. And what happens when you surrender? When you have no more, I want this kind of experience, I want it to be this way, I'm looking for this. What happens when you just really surrender?
Yeah, thought goes away.
What is truly, really real, what's truly evidently true becomes obvious. So it's not like you find enlightenment. When you stop being unwilling, enlightenment is already the case. And you find that this point of view where I looked at everything through, this wasn't really true. But you never suspect your own point of view, your own self, do you? Yeah. That's what's so great about it. I think coming here as a realizer, that everyone here is deluded by their own point of view. So no one can see what true point of view is. Everybody comes into the room with their own ideas, and everybody leaves with their own ideas. But no one's willing to come into the room and be in the room and experience the room. And you go through it your whole life. And I guess how you see life is based on your karma. So if you're an intellectual, if you're a vital or a very emotional person, if you're a stay-at-home dad or a scientist or whatever you are, you see life through that role that you're cast in. And you think it's very important, and it makes you a very special you and a very unique you. No one's unique. I mean, we all look different, but not really unique. Everyone's difficult, aren't they?
Complicated.
Difficult. No one's just willing to be willing. So whatever you think sadhana has been, whatever ups and downs, whatever you think is difficult about it, whatever you think is overwhelmingly not going to happen to you, well, none of that. That's just all your ideas, and that's just all your point of view. And I assure you, the divine has no point of view like that at all. The divine is everyone. The divine recognizes everyone as its own being. No one is separate. No one's capable of being separate. And yet this leader continues, huh? This idea of separation. Well, that's what's so wonderful. Adibhai came, and he's here as that transmission of the divine, and it's available directly for everyone to realize that which he is, which we all are, the sacred, the divine. And he has given a perfect teaching and transmission. And he left a crazy old lady behind to, got some fannies along the way, keep moving. So we're living in an extraordinary willing moment. And that's the real truth of what's going on. We're living in an incredibly open, willing moment. The darkness is just the ego planning its strategy and not knowing that it's only a false persona. It's not really real. That's why it's trying so hard. Because it's not really real. When you're trying to convince somebody of something, you try so hard, and you have all these big explanations, and you talk about it for a long time. And, the more complicated a lie, everybody feels like you can't tell it's a lie, but that's the dead giveaway. So the moment of willingness is always available, no matter where you're at, what what conflict you have in your life, what experience you're going through, what difficulties you've been through, what difficulties can lie ahead. This moment of willingness is always present. It's never going away. It's never not here. But you have to turn to it. You have to be willing. And the divine wants to do the work. It wants to reveal itself to you. It's not like, not that guy. He's annoying. She's just impossible. It's not like that. You all get weighed down by all your personality traits and your mistakes and your ego trips and stuff. It's not really like that, and it never will be like that. Because everybody knows that there's a secret.
Yeah.
And the secret is being shouted on the rooftops like Ramana Krishna, right? It's really being shouted everywhere. But, the willingness just to go and hang up with it and stay in the room with it and not demand things of it. Not to make it work out for your life. The heart's being paraded around is energy, light. That's it. We're just that. We're just love. We're just light. We're not body minds. The mind is not in control of any of this. I mean, if the mind was in control, don't you think we'd figure out a better system that no one can seem to figure out anything, make any sense of it. It's just kind of chaotic. People being really upset, reactive, immature, sometimes doing something good. But no one's willing. No one's willing to acknowledge there is only the divine. It's wonderful. No one's leaving home as it. Everyone's going out with their peace. Being scared, fighting for it, trying to get it. That's about it. And so first you give up.
Trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out. And then once you stop figuring it out,
Something happens.
something happens, but there's no way to describe that. Because there's no point of view to describe it anymore. But it's good. It's good. It feels good. Like when I walk alone, by myself, it's like, I'm not trying to problem solve or anything. Once in a while I go, what if I try to solve a problem? then usually I have a long period where I'm trying to come up with one. With a problem to solve. That's too much. That's too hard.
You'd find a way to
So I just go around singing my own name. Or Adidaste.